All right. Yes. So good evening, everyone there in the Philippines. So once again, thank you for joining us for Angular Philippines monthly meetup. No. So I think this month in June, meron tayong dalawang meetups. So we have two meetups this month. No. So this is our first time, and I'm really happy that our speaker for this evening, naging speaker na natin siya for I think for the past few years, I don't really remember when, but it's really good to have our speaker again here in our community. No, before we move on to our speaker this evening, so I'll just have a short introduction of what our community is, and especially for the newcomers, no, sa mga bago dyan sa Angular Philippines. So I'll just share my screen. So once again, welcome to Angular Philippines and welcome to our Angular monthly meetup for this evening. So yun, welcome guys for all of the newcomers here. And who is Angular Philippines? So we are a PH Tech community since 2016. So we are already are a long running community. So since 2016, so we are already for 10 years and we are still continuing to share knowledge, invite speakers, have boot camps and um other mentorship programs for you guys. No, so we are not stopping for our passion in sharing our knowledge to other people. So yeah, what is Angular Philippines? So we are a non-profit tech community who are passionate on organizing events such as meetups, seminars, and conferences there in the Philippines. No, so in summary, we are one of the first tech community which is established around 2016, as I have mentioned a while ago. So our main goal is to basically share knowledge, not just in Angular. No, so we are also diverse already. We're also expanding to different technologies. Especially right now, there are a lot of technologies, especially in AI. So we are teaching a lot of people in our community as well. No, so we are doing a lot of seminars, conference small conferences and even mentorships and boot camps for the students and also even for professionals. They're also open. And as I have mentioned also a while ago, so we are founded around 2016 by a group of developers, and we just started around 10 developers. No, so we started from a small group, which is or which are the members. They have the same passion, they have the same goal, which is to share knowledge to through different people who are interested into tech. So right now, we have some community leaders um, that are active. So I'm actually one of them. I'm the main community leaders of Angular Philippines. And if you also want to join, we are open. So we are already building new set of leaders as well. If you are interested, you can actually contact one of the leaders, and also you can also contact the Angular Philippines page, or basically you can contact me as well. No, if you are interested to be an Angular community leader. Okay. And right now, our community is quite big already. So we have 6,000 members on our community. And we also have our Facebook group, also for our Discord as well. And yeah, we had a lot of past events. So we are partnered with different communities, with different organizations there in the Philippines and also around the world. So we are partnered with AWS, Education PH. We are partnered with different school organizations as well. And with these partnerships, we are engaged with different speaking events, so seminars as well. So we are continuing to work with other communities with the same goal, no. So other than that, we're also doing Angular podcast. Also, we have some different internal projects, which includes our website and our portal as well. And also, we have some upcoming events still. So yun, meron pa rin tayong Angular monthly meetup. So we also have some speaking events still, which is partnered with different communities. And we are still doing the podcast just to have some informal discussion about the topics or about tech, basically. No? And lastly, we have some yeah, as I've mentioned, we're still continuing with our internal projects that will be publicly available soon for the community. And yeah, we have our new website. So it's angular-ph.org. So you can actually have a look. So all of our events are actually posted there. And yeah, if you want to be updated, you can visit our site or you can also visit our Facebook page. So yeah, I think that's it. So if you want to join Angular Philippines, so you can just go to Facebook, just search Angular Philippines. It's very easy to search. Also, we have our Facebook page where we also put our live streaming just like this one, or also on our YouTube. We are also streaming there as well, and also you can join our Discord. So if you have some questions, career questions, any Angular related questions or technology questions, you can actually join our Discord. All right. So I think that's about it. So now let's move on to our speaker for this evening. So I will be introducing our speaker, and we're really happy to have him again because he was a previous speaker on our community. I think that was like 4 years ago or 3 years ago. That was a long time. But again, he will be speaking again in our community. So for this evening, so our speaker, he has 17 years of programming and application development, a highly creative individual, and recognized for being result oriented and solution focused, capable of managing projects from concept to completion with remarkable deadline sensitivity, compatible team player throughout the complete project cycle, testing, and final implementation. Excellent communication and interpersonal skills. Quickly learns and master new technologies, and active contributor to Angular and NGRX. He also has several achievements such as Angular GDE since 2019, a GitHub star since 2020, international speaker with more than 50 plus talks in different conferences. He also has its own YouTube course with now have a 1 million views, and also a Monorepo expert and NX champion. So let's welcome to our virtual stage Mr. Santosh Yadav. Hey Santosh.
Ah, hope you can hear me now.
Yeah, all good. I
Ah,
can hear you.
yeah. Yeah, so thank you so much for the introduction. So, should I share my screen?
Yep.
Um,
Right, there you go. It's already
uh,
shared.
okay, cool. I think, yeah, perfect.
Yep.
So, hey everyone, first of all, like, thanks again for joining on Saturday. I know weekends are mostly for yourself, and then you decided to actually come hang out with us, learn something new. So, really appreciate your time and glad to be back here. So, it's been, I think, 3 to 4 years, as Seiji said, but yeah. So so today I'm going to talk about Monorepo because, everyone is talking about AI, but from my experience, what I've seen is Monorepo is a great, enabler for AI as well. So that's what this talk is all about. So we are going to discuss about like how AI can help you achieve better agentic experience. So if you see a word called AX, it's agentic experience, DX is developer experience, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So my journey with Monorepos actually started 6 years ago. So I was working for a client, and the client said one day, he said, "Hey, we have one successful app for a customer, and what we want to do is we want to actually expand the expand this app to multiple customers, and we can easily do that if we have a shared library, shared design system." And I was like, yeah, you know what? We can do that. And NX was still there in 2019. And we wanted to actually deliver faster as well. So what I ended up doing is, okay, I asked them, you know what, give it to me. And then within 2 weeks, I had like a POC ready. It was not actually a POC, it was actually a working app. And they were surprised, like, oh, everything works. Like we can easily just start adding multiple apps and then share the code base and we are done, because I think they one thing which they had was a great code base which helped me to like, do my POC faster, like even the working example faster. So then last year, not last year, actually almost 4 years ago, I joined Ceylon is. And we had different problem there. Every code base is different, and when you work with a new app, you see different challenges. We had multiple version hell there actually. So we had multiple apps. I'm just giving an example here, like 4 apps, 4 different version, but we had like 30 apps. Almost everyone is using their own Angular version. And if there is a breaking change, it is impossible, almost impossible to make sure like everyone is on like the same version. There is no breaking change. Bug fix, almost impossible. Like you have to always go ahead and fix a bug, then release it. We had like several shared, libraries, your design system, your bunch of shared components, bunch of shared services, and it was all over. Like the we had so many repositories, it was difficult to even find out. So there were instances we found out a repository after like a year. Oh, this repository exists, and then we ended up migrating them. But yeah, that's for later. And then if something goes wrong, rolling back is also a problem because this commits are actually scattered across, so it's hard to find like what broke and why it broke. If it is documented, it's hard to find it in future. For example, if someone is actually coming again and then trying to make the same change, it's difficult to figure out like what was broken before, because your commits are scattered across 30, 40 different repositories. Just it was just a mess. My job was actually to to move everyone to the Monorepo. So I was like, wow, this is a different challenge now, because earlier we had a good use one single app, and I wanted to actually make it distributable, so you can actually share our design system. But this is different. Like we already have everything. It's just like scattered across. So this is something what it looked like. It's called Polyrepo. So Polyrepo is a concept where you actually distribute your code across multiple repositories. So for each application, or you can say each repository, you do build, test, then you publish it to npm. Then if it's a reusable library, you go to app1, app b, app a, app b, app c, and then you update the new package version, and then you go ahead and do your open a pr, get it reviewed, merge, and you do it like same thing multiple times. And it's time consuming, right? I mean, of course, no one likes to do the same thing again and again. A lot of teams try to automate this, but in different ways. But it's hard. Like even in this case, your commits are scattered across, so it's hard to figure out like what in case something goes wrong. And then there is a misconception around when people talk about monorepos. So most people actually what they think is one repository is actually one project, which is wrong. In reality, one project can actually span multiple repositories, which is the concept of polyrepo. And one repository can contain multiple projects as well. So let's see some words which we generally talk about, but we don't probably know about them. So there are three different words which you will hear about when you try to work with Git-based systems, right? So there is something called monorepo where your multiple projects are in a single repository. For example, Google, Microsoft, Meta, they actually use monorepos. Polyrepos is where you have each project in its own repository. And there are 100 projects, then it's 100 repos, different repos. Uh, People use it just in case they need. We will go in detail like why people prefer more polyrepo and monoliths. I think most of us have been using monoliths for a long, long time. If you are coming from a Java .NET background, you already know that. For example, .NET, you can have multiple projects, but they are actually built and published as a single unit. In .NET, actually, we have been doing this. For example, we used to create data access layer, business layer, and then you build it, publish at as a single deployable unit, whatever you call it now, because haven't done it for a decade now. I left .NET around 2016, 2017. So let's see some diagram, right? So or some examples, like so how the monorepos can look like. So for example, in this diagram, you see there are multiple apps on analytics app, admin app, and then you have APIs, tools, and then design system is something which is being used across multiple projects uh, and or multiple apps. And then you can also have monoliths inside. So in monorepo, you can actually mix and match, right? So you can also have your monoliths inside, which probably doesn't share anything with anybody, and then you can also have your projects which shares something from different, different libraries within the same system. In polyrepos, this is hard. So in polyrepos, it's like you have multiple microservices as they exist somewhere else. There is a different teams actually owning that code base, and you even don't have any idea like how it looks like, because most of the time it is based on access. So even if you need some access, you have to go ask somebody, hey, can I get a read-only access? And even in that case, you cannot push anything. So when should you use Monorepo? Of course, my recommendation is always like, because I love it. I mean, I love the advantages which it gives you, but I think you should not trust people blindly, right? I mean, I might be saying this because that's my preference, but let's go why, right? I mean, until unless you have, one thing which is very uh, which people talk about a lot is when you try to figure out like why you should be something or using something, you should ask some questions like why. Until unless you find all of your why questions or answer to all of your why questions, and then you go ahead and implement something. For example, if you're trying to use implement an email like email system, right? I mean, then you should go ahead and talk to ask few why questions like, oh, why we are doing this, like why, what is the use case? And then of course then you will come to the technology, like if you prefer using maybe a specific api, then you should have answer all why question for why you should be preferring that particular api, and then you go ahead and use whatever you want to do. So let's see, why should you choose Monorepo? So if you have multiple projects which shares code dependencies, of course, it's a good use case. So common example is your design system, shared libraries. Of course, go ahead and use Monorepos. If you need atomic changes across services, what do you mean by atomic changes? We will cover more. So it's like um, uh, it's if you have a breaking changes or API updates, it's really useful. But as I said, like we'll cover atomic changes in detail. If you have large scale refactoring, for example, a simple example can be all of us are Angular developer here. You have Angular 19 to 20 or Angular 20 to 22 upgrade. And then you have 20 different projects where you are actually doing this. So actually, you just need to run the update, right? And there might be some breaking changes because some library said, oh, we are not using Angular 20 anymore, or they have different APIs, which was breaking. So in those cases, actually, you just need this like, so uh, tech upgrades or product iterations. So if you, let's say a simple other example can be some API you are using from internal code base or internal product changes something, then you have a single commit across your repository saying, hey, this API changed and this new implementation is. Strong code reuse culture. This is what I love. So, people actually can see your code base, learn from you. A new teammate can come join the team, and then he can see the code base being written by your principal engineer, your staff engineer, your senior engineer, and they learn from that. So, and they also stop reinventing the wheel, because I'm sure like there might have been multiple instances where you go and say, hey, why you're doing this again? Because we follow this particular library, or we have built this library to do exact the same thing. If you're monorepo, this discussion never happens because everyone knows everything. And interconnected products, right? If you are actually have micro front end or shared backends, perfect, go ahead and use monorepo. So, as I said, like why teams love monorepos is that was code sharing and reusability. So you can share your code base, reuse existing things, like atomic commits, simplified dependencies, because you don't have multiple applications running with different Angular version. You now can have same dependency across. Unified CI/CD, so you can have a single CI/CD pipeline for everything. You don't have to have 30 different apps publishing their own version and then using it. And better collaboration. You talk to people more, you learn from them, you learn from each other. So this is one example which is from our own code base. I mean, from my previous company where I used to work. So generally this is a very common example. As we had like 30, almost 30 different apps, we had one shared library, and there were multiple, but there was one very big as shared library, and that library was a dumping ground. So if there was a new API needed, people used to just go ahead and write that in that particular library and then share it, publish it, and then everyone is using it. And they are actually paying for the cost of the extra bundle, even though they are not using it. And it was big. So when we started migrating everything, of course, we migrated all the apps first, and then at some point of time, you're like, oh, we have enough apps inside Monorepo, let's migrate this library. And we ended up migrating it, and we were surprised, like it was shipping 800 KB per app. 800 KB is, to be frank, very big number. I mean, 800 KB is like what maybe a complex app looks like when it gets loaded on for the first time. So we ended up removing 95 to 98% of the code after we migrated. So it was like most apps were actually just using at the end 4 KB or 5 KB of the code from that particular library. So this was actually possible because we decided to move everything into our uh, monorepo, and then we said, okay, let's get rid of the unused code base. Now, coming to atomic changes, like what do you mean by atomic changes? So when you write a code base or when you write a feature, what you do, you write a commit. And if you have the same changes across 30 repositories, it means there will be a code base or there will be a commit somewhere in a shared library saying, okay, this is the implementation. And then across 30 repositories, you will have another commit saying, oh, this is the implementation for the API, which we just implemented in our shared code base. And you have close to 36 commits. Something goes wrong, no one has no idea like what's happening. Like it's hard to identify the breaking changes from looking at your comments. But if you're in a monorepo, what you will do is, of course, if you break something, you have to go ahead and fix it everywhere because your build fails. And you have a single commit where you can figure out everything, all the changes in your code base. So this is what we mean by atomic changes. So you have a clean commit and easy to revert as well. Something goes wrong, you don't have to revert 35 commits. You just have to revert one commit and that's it. You're back to your production or running previous running version, right? So this is an example, like a polyrepo bug, which is very common. I'm sure like most of you might have seen this in case you are into a polyrepo setup right now. So let's say add product introduces a new parameters, and then you publish this repository, you did 28 apps, you missed 29th app, and you're like, oh, why the build is broken, right? It's hard. I know because we are human beings. But in Monorepo, you don't have to even wait for that time, right? I mean, it's like, oh, you break something, you run the build, and then everything is broken. You don't have to do anything. It's just done. And I'm talking about a case where, like, let's say you publish that product on production and you don't publish, or maybe you miss to update the library in 29th app. Because if you update the version, of course, I'm sure like all of us know TypeScript is a type system, so you will catch it. But what in case you just missed it? And we do, right? So this is a simple example. Dependencies, right? For example, here I'm saying React, but it can be Angular as well. So you have a single Angular version used across your 29 different apps. So it's easy to upgrade, Uh, it's like, oh, if it works, new upgrade, Angular 22, you say, okay, time to use Angular 22, you upgrade it. It works for everyone. You don't have to say, hey, let's upgrade you to 29 to Angular 22. No, everyone is on Angular 22. And as tools like NX or Angular CLI makes it much easier to upgrade to a new version. Unified CI/CD pipeline. So this is what we had before. So we had like Repo 1, Repo 2, Repo 3. They had their own linting rules. They had like their own test frameworks. They had their own build process, and it was a mess, right? I mean, just think about managing 30 different apps. So after we moved to Monorepo, we had like single CI/CD pipeline for everything. For example, we had the same linting rule applied across repository. Everyone is using same linting rule, same code quality, same code standards, because that was another issue we had before. So when we started migrating to Angular, started migrating our entire code base to Monorepo, we are saying, oh, why different teams are using different standards? And then we thought, okay, this is one problem to solve, right? We started talking to the teams and say, hey, let's agree on a very, unified standards. And everyone said, yes, we should, because, this is our product, like everyone's product. So it's not like my code base or your code base. It's like everybody's code base. And good thing is like team was on boarded with that concept. And then we had centralized tooling. So if you want, we ended up implementing, Cypress component testing. Everyone adopted it. We ended up using Playwright for end-to-end testing. Everyone has adopted it, and we were able to do it in an incremental fashion. We were not like, oh, from today onwards, your old test breaks, and now you have to migrate to this. No, we said, okay, take your time. Whenever you feel like it, we are here to support you. And people were like, yeah, why not? Like, works. This is the biggest, biggest thing you get it from Monorepos. Everyone sees everything, right? So if me as an engineer is able to see like, oh, how my principal engineer is actually solving the problem, how he works or how she works. So I was able to see and learn from them. Believe me, I ended up learning how to do refactoring in a better way possible, because I was just looking at their practices, like how they ship code. Easy to discover code base, or figure out like, um, if I'm looking for some API, I can just, in TypeScript, you can just say control click and then you are there. Like you see the code base, like how it is written. So if something goes wrong, it's easy to figure out what's actually inside the code, or maybe it's easy to debug because it's part of your code base. Learning from the best practices, because one thing about best practices is they change, and I'm sure everyone knows that. So, you can actually look at your code base, adopt the new guidelines, new standards. You can actually share it across and agree with everyone that, okay, we will be following these standards from today onwards. Cross team collaboration, it actually helped us, collaborate with more teams, because everyone is actually now started talking to everyone, saying, "Oh, we have this problem. You also have this problem. Now let's work together and get it sorted." So different people started contributing to different projects, because they were trying to solve a similar problem in a same code base. Now it's not like the previous way, where they had separate code bases, no one is talking to anyone, and then no one knows what's going on. And then it was able to identify some of our top contributors who are actually working, helping us on the platform team, and we were able to actually move them into our team, because if someone leaves, then there is a knowledge gap. But if everyone knows everyone, and then there is someone who is actually doing an excellent work in the overall code base area, it's easy to just like replace people. You can say, hey, you know what, we need a new person to help us in this team, and it became much easier because everyone knows what the code base looks like. But one thing which we never thought about was the AI advantage, right? And this is we started migrating this in 2022. No one was talking about AI anymore at that time. And we started at Celonis, my previous company, we started adopting AI last year, 2025. We realized like now, in let's talk about the AI advantage. Like, so now more than 25 to 42% of the code is written by AI, and I'm sure the number have increased because this is an old survey. And one thing which AI needs is more context. We all know, like without context, AI is as dumb as anything can be. And then new softwares are written with AX in mind. Like, when I talk about AX, is it's agentic experience, right? Now people are creating a new API, thinking about like how my agent can actually identify and like simplify this particular API, or how easy this API is to be used by an agent. So we realized, like, of course, the context switching was the biggest problem we had. So if you see a context switching tags, like this is how your day to day looks like in case you're working with a poly repo. So you fix a bug in the front end repo, you do clone npm install, set up your environment, you update your API in backend repo, go ahead and different. But we have different node version now, different commands. So you are always context switching, because you are thinking about different commands, your different you have to you maybe use different package managers. Someone is using npm, someone is using pnpm. Then you have a design system repo where you have to go ahead and use different build tools. Maybe someone is using webpack, someone is using Weed, and everyone has their different scripts to build and publish the design system. Then you go to your mobile app repo, you fix some bugs. Now you have different package manager, different iOS setup. And by 5 p.m., you're like, oh, I haven't done anything in the entire day, because I wasn't able to complete even a single task. I was just context switching most of the day. So if you look at the cost of context switching, it's like If as a human being, it takes at least 23 minutes to fully refocus after switching. And I'm sure like this is very common. We know we maybe sometimes we just procrastinate, like, oh, I just finished this work and now I have to do this task too, which is in different repository. Let me take some time. And developer switch repos 5 to 10 times a day. This is again some some study which was done. So I'm just not making this up. And then 2 to 4 hours are actually lost daily because you're doing context switching. You're trying to understand like how this new thing works and how this new package manager works, why it doesn't work. Like because someone pushes something and upgrades on maybe node version in the project which you used maybe 10 days before, and then you're now back to that project and you're wondering, oh, what the hell, why it's not working, and then you figure out after 30 minutes that it's the new node version and you have an old version. So, and then different commands, of course, keep changing, different environments. It's very common where someone actually decided, oh, it's a .env change, so why should I use this API key or push into or maybe example so people can refer this. But yeah, it's also a common problem. And then different CI/CD, figuring out like what went wrong because you have a different CI/CD system. You go to the build, you go to GitHub Action and see like what is build, what is the failure, and then you try to figure out like why it failed and fix it. And then different code standards. This is way more time consuming than anything else. I hate that. So if I look at the in annual cost is like 50K per developer in lost productivity. 50K, it's like a lot of money. So what is the biggest problem for the AI? It's context. So in case you have an API or sorry, you have an app and it's just a front end repo, it's not able to actually look at your backend code. It's not able to look at your shared library implementation. Cannot see like how different teams are solving the problem, and it's limited to the current repository. Yeah, there are systems by using which you can do this, but that's an extra cost, right? I mean, you might have to buy something new, or then you are giving more context to your code base, which can just hallucinate. Because if your context window, if your context goes beyond your context window, you're screwed up. Like you will have maybe some junk output. So, but Monorepo actually gives you the entire picture. So, it sees your backend implementation. It understands your shared library usage pattern. So, if I'm going to try, like, let's say if I implement something new and it sees, oh, there is actually an API which is available in my code base and it can just reuse. And it sees like from your comments, like how people are solving that issue. And, you also have access to the entire dependency graph. NX, for example, NX has a tool, and agents can actually do the tool calling internally. So NX also exposes a dependency graph tool, so it can actually go ahead and figure out like how the project looks like, and maybe give you the best perfect code base, which is like distributed across different libraries. And it also understands your business logic from across the stack, right? It's just not like front end, but also understands your back end. And result is you have deep contextual and aggregate accurate suggestions. So for example, this is a Polyrepo example where you are actually just adding this API call, and then your AS or maybe a code reviewer agent says, hey, you just should consider actually adding error handler here, because it's very common. I've seen this in my own code base where it just tries to add try catch because it is missing the context about my backend. But in case of Monorepo, it can actually give you more context. So, for example, this is one example from our own code base, because we use CodeRabbit for our own review, and we have a feature where you can actually link multiple repository. So we were trying to document an API, and when we did the code review, it says, hey, you know what, this API is already deprecated. Why you're documenting it? You shouldn't be exposing it. But if everything was in monorepo, we might have never been into this situation. In our case, it was just documentation, so we can still live with it. But think about a production system where actually you're using an API which is already deprecated, or maybe it can give you more context about like what is the alternate, right? So it can see, oh, you know what, everyone has moved to this different API. Just go ahead and use that. AI can also see your breaking changes, right? So in case of this simple example, get user ID gets a new uh, parameter. So in Monorepo, it can actually just capture it at runtime. It can break your app at runtime and say, hey, you know what? Uh, just do this. For new code base, you can actually just make it true, but for old code bases, just pass this parameter as false. So everyone works happily ever after. AI learns from your organization way, as I said, like usage pattern. For example, so if you try to give a new prompt, or maybe I know like how your workflow looks like. Generally, what I do is maybe talk to AI agent and see like how it works. Like, or use Superpower, right? Superpower is another uh, plugin. I generally use it with my GitHub Copilot, but it's you can actually plug in it with everything, Cortex, Cloud Code, and it asks you a lot of questions before it goes ahead and start implementing your code base. It tries to write a spec document. It tries to follow the TDD, test driven development, so you get perfect code at the result and save your tokens as well. So, for example, if you have into Monorepo, your agent can actually see like how these people are actually doing maybe data fetching, or how they are doing error handling, or how people are doing it, and then it can actually give you the result based on your existing patterns, right? And then it can also learn from your architectural decision. For example, feature flags, like how you have been doing feature flags, how you are doing logging, and it can give you the correct recommendation when implementing something new. So why AI get 10x more accurate? The formula is of course simple. Complete context is better understanding historical patterns. So it can learn from your past mistakes, right? Cross team knowledge, because this is gold, right? If there is a system which can learn from your cross team collaboration, or how the different teams are writing code, that's amazing, right? Because this has always been an issue. Education, educating within the team, and AI is like perfect. Like, I know this is how this team is doing it. Maybe if there is a team which is maybe shipping best quality code, you can learn from them. You can ask your agent, hey, tell me like how they're doing it, and it can give you entire context about like how they are working. Dependency of awareness. So your front end knows about your back end knows about like whatever business logic is, and it can just catch the integration issue. um, One thing which I love about GitHub is your that playwright integration. I'm not sure if you have tried it, but you can actually just ask your agent in GitHub Copilot saying, hey, you know what, I'm trying to click on this button, it doesn't work, and it can actually start a playwright playwright instance, and then it can actually go ahead and write a test saying, okay, let me just go ahead and click on this particular button, and it does automatically, so you don't have to do anything. So that those things are amazing. So if you want to know more, of course, feel free to message me on LinkedIn or X, where we are. And then you get a consistent code base, easier to analyze. I mean, remember, AI can still deliver chunk code, so you should be useful, and you should be careful, and then do your code reviews still, right? So AI gets smarter with your monorepo. So for example, like if team commit codes, AI can learn from your patterns. AI can suggest improvements. For example, code rapid is something which can be used for code review, and then it can give you some suggestions or find bugs before it gets delivered, because people are using AI blindly, and we have more bugs than ever. I was actually wondering yesterday, there used to be a time people used to write code with hand, and we still had 99.99% of SLAs. Now we have AIs, and there are big companies who are not even matching 90% of SLAs. So there is something definitely going wrong, and that's all the all thing about the context, right? I mean, people are just blindly maybe shipping code, and they don't care about like how it is impacting overall customers. And then team can of course adopt suggestion in case like code review gives you some code review suggestions. You can adopt or teach AI, right? You can also do that. For example, in CodeRabbit, you can actually say, hey, CodeRabbit, don't recommend this suggestion. We follow this standard here, and CodeRabbit learns from you. And then you, of course, go into this loop where actually you strengthen your pattern. Then your AI accuracy improves because it's also learning from you, and you are also learning from AI. And then it keeps running. So people think like this is one time task, which is not. Like, of course, you have to be in loop every time. And you know, people have been talking about loop engineering, whatever that is, but this is my concept of loop, where you keep learning. AI keeps learning from you. You keep learning from AI, and you get a better system. So human plus AI team, like how it looks like. So AI, what now? The biggest question I get asked, like what I am supposed to do now. AI, if AI is doing everything. So AI can actually worry about syntax and style inconsistency. Consistencies. So one thing which I never liked is syntax, right? And why I should be caring about syntax after like writing code for 19 years or 20 years or maybe 10 years? Now AI can actually know the syntax better than you. So just forget about you. Your job is to actually deliver or ship a good product, and that's what you should be focusing on. AI can do that now. Dependency impact analysis. So if in case something goes wrong, AI can do figure out like, oh, you know what? If you do this, maybe if you change this API, there's a huge impact. Like there are 10 different apps where this can break. So it can help you doing that analysis. Pattern compliance, like how if you are doing uh, if you're writing a new code, does it follow all the existing patterns in your code base? AI can do that. Security vulnerability scanning, there are agents who can actually do it for you. And performance and anti patterns, you can actually now give your website to AI agent and say, hey, you know what, I'm seems like we are leaking some memory, and believe me, AI can also do that for you. All the debugging related to performance issue and documentation, right? AI can do better documentation than we can. So what humans are supposed to do, what we as a human are supposed to do. So focus on business logic correctness, right? I mean, you should be not missing any edge cases because AI can still do that. It misses a lot of business edge cases. You are better now. You can focus more on the architectural decision, like, oh, how we should be building our system. Let's say if we want to scale this to from 1,000 users to maybe next million user, like, how should we doing? How should we do that? Like what databases to use, maybe what's caching strategies to use. You can focus on that level. You can better like use this time, the time where we used to actually think about the code base, now talking to different teams and see like how you they are doing it, learn from each other, and do the creative problem solving, which is of course the biggest thing we as a human, we or as a developer, we were supposed to do for a long time. And think about the product, start thinking about the product, not the code base. So how do you get started with AI in Monorepo? So first step is of course establish the foundation, do the Monorepo migration first. And then you start documenting your coding standards, define your architectural patterns. This is week one, right? I mean, if you have a small Monorepo, believe me, it may take time, but start it. For example, in Celonis, it took us more than a year to migrate everything. More than a year. I'm not talking about 1 week, but with AI, I'm sure like this is much faster to do the migration. We were doing it by hands. Then in a week two, you can actually start integrating AI tools. For example, bring code rapid to review your PR, configure all the linters, static analysis, like or set up your dependency tracking, like to see like, oh, what is getting changed. You can see like, oh, the what are the different packages we are using, and try to maybe follow a single standard packages version, right? And then week three, by the time or by the time it's already week three, AI is already learning from your code base. For example, Code Rabbit can do that really well. It learns from your past comments. It's learned from like how you do PR reviews, and team can provide the feedback like how it's working for them. And then you can actually talk to other teams saying, hey, team A adopted this and now they're much faster. Now it's your time. Maybe you should do that. And meanwhile, you can also reiterate on the patterns and tasks, like you're saying, hey, you know what, we learned from this project once that okay, this things went wrong. Now let's make sure like this is fixed when we migrate project B and C, and then start scaling up. Right now, you have your learnings, you have your AI system in place, and now you can start expanding to all the projects. You can start using advanced AI features. For example, you can now start using AI agents. For example, you say, hey, now everyone is using maybe Cloud Code or GitHub Copilot for coding, and CodeRabbit is responsible for AI review. And then you can start thinking about custom rules. For example, Linux can help you write custom linting rules. And you can just start implementing custom rules to make sure like you are covering all the edge cases in your code base. So this is how AI first development looks like to me. So 2024, we had like AI reviewer. 2025, AI can do a lot of stuff for you. It can recommend you architectural improvements. It started writing your code. And 2026, it's more about AI doing refactoring. You thinking about like how to improve the product or how to make the product better. And 27, I'm sure like it will be, and it's already there. Like I was thinking about when I was writing the blog, or talk. Like I was thinking, in 2027, people will be just orchestrating AI agents, and we are already there. Like in AI, things are moving so fast. So it's not even 2027, and we are already doing that. So yeah, as an developer, we are doing is we are just orchestrating agents, and we are just like shipping the task to multiple agents and saying, hey, go ahead and do that, and give me the last output, which I can get reviewed by CodeRabbit, and then we are done. So this is the speed. So in agent first Monorepos, this is how it looks like. So a human describes the features, planning agent. I'm sure like everyone is using plan mode. CodeRabbit also has this plan mode. You can also go ahead and do that. It drives the entire plan, or just go ahead and see superpowers. It's a free open source project. You can do that. It writes a spec document for you. It follows all the. It also writes a plan for you, so you can get it reviewed. Give it to the agent. Then agent actually implements that feature. At the end, CodeRabbit, which is your review agent, can check your quality, and then you might have a testing strategy defined. Whatever you're using, for example, unit test, integration test, it can verify your the code base, and then finally you see, as a human, you say, okay, everything looks good. Code Rapid says all perfect. My tests are all green. My CI/CD is green. Now I just need to go ahead and approve. You don't have to even wait for another person to go ahead and review your PR. By the time you have less buggy code which is being shipped to production. So all this is autonomous. It's we are not in 2020s where you raise a PR, wait for 3 days, hey, and keep bugging your senior engineer saying, hey, can you review my code? Have deliver this, and please, 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 you don't have to do that. So I'll give you a small demo of a simple PR, which I did few days ago. So for example, I wanted to add a checkout functionality. I'm sure I hope this is visible. And just zoom out. Sorry. So I wanted to add a checkout functionality, and this is a monorepo where I have my JavaScript Spring Boot application or Spring Boot API, and also a front end. So ended up doing everything. For example, as I said, like I use superpowers, so it wrote me a plan or design doc. You can see it's actually a design doc, and then this is the spec document I was talking about. And then it went ahead, added the checkout service. It added the models, which are actually different library. If you see, it's a library. Then there is an app code where actually it ended up implementing my APIs. So now it's all Spring Boot API, because my AI agent is not only front end engineer or not only back end engineer. It's full stack engineer. It actually knows all the syntax. It knows all different languages, and it can just do that without me jumping in and helping the agent out, right? And then it went to my the front end app. It added some, it ended up adding UI, and it's all done by agent. What I did is just wrote the design document, right? I mean, which is also where I took the help from Superpower, saying, hey, I want to implement this, go ahead and write the spec document. Superpowers wrote it for me. I verified and handed it over to agent. And now what I focus is on more about delivering the uh, end result to my customers. And as I said, like the review agent, the code rabbit can actually just review my code base and recommend some changes, saying, hey, you can use typed exception instead of message matching. This is very common. For example, I can so as per a code rabbit, I can actually do this. So it recommends me code base, so I can actually learn from AI agent, right? So code, I mean, I'm learning here from my code review agent rather than just shipping this to production without knowing like what is the new way to actually do this. Or maybe my principal engineer comes to me saying, hey, you know what, we can actually do something better. Maybe use this function which is maybe more typed rather than just sharing whatever random error we are giving to our end customers. And then once you review all the code base, you see if you fix everything. At the end, you just go ahead and merge your code base. For example, replace ng for ng4, like ng if ng4 with at the ref for, right? I mean, this is another example where there are developers who are not aware of what new changes are, but my review agents knows, and it can actually recommend you the new way to write code bases, or you can just go ahead and use skills. There are multiple ways to actually fix this issue, but Uh, so I'm already like almost 45 minutes in my talk. I will stop here. I'll give you some tools. You can use NX, you can use Turbo Repo. There are PNPM monorepo you can use, NPM based monorepo you can use, but those are different tools. And I'm not going to talk more about tools because we have already talked a lot about like how monorepo can use it. Sorry, monorepo can help you, how you can use multiple no, how you can use AI with Monorepo and then make your team deliver faster. So I'll skip to the end, and yeah. So this is different references. I will share the slide with Seiji so you can share it with you. But I have added all the links which can be useful for you. And yeah, so go ahead and give it a try. CodeRabbit is free for open source. So if you have a public repository, you don't have to pay. You just go ahead and use it for free forever. And yeah, if you have any questions about Monorepo, different tools, feel free to message me on. So you can find everything about me on santoshyaadav.dev. I have my contact information available here. If you want to drop me an email, feel free to do that. Otherwise, just connect me on LinkedIn or X or Blue Sky, wherever you are. And that's it for the day.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Santosh. And that's a very, very interesting talk for you, right? So yeah, if somebody has question, guys, please feel free to comment out all of your questions for Santosh. But yeah, Santosh, I just have a question, personal, also a question from me, right? If I read it correctly, CodeRabbit is free, right, for public repositories.
Yeah, it's free for public repositories and open source projects.
Okay, and also for repositories that are public under a specific organization, right? Is it also free?
Yes.
Oh,
You
nice.
just need to onboard, like someone has who has an admin rights can just go ahead and configure it.
Okay, yeah, really cool. Yeah. So yeah, right now it's really AI first development. AI is very important now when it comes to
Yeah.
development. Yeah, and yeah, personally for us, our team is also using NX, and Monorepo is now a thing, especially for AI agents, because you really want to have your AI agents all of the context, right? So for us, it's not. Everything is there, the back end and front end as well. So it has all of the context, and yeah, the superpowers, the skills, even the libraries, it knows everything. That's why Monorepo is really helpful when it comes to AI first development. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, guys, please have a try on the, if you're not familiar yet with NX, how it works. So yeah, we have a lot of NX has a lot of documentation. It has a broad documentation. Or if you're also familiar with, or if you're also interested in Turbo Repo, yeah, they also have a. But I think NX is bigger, so yeah, you can have, or you can explore more on that one. And yeah, it's really now a thing in enterprise applications. But yeah, if you have any more questions, so please feel free. But I think I don't see any questions on the comment. Also in YouTube, I'm actually checking. But yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Santosh. It's really nice. It's really a nice topic. So very interesting, especially for people who wants to use NX. Yeah, personally, again, for me, I would say NX is really now a thing, especially if you're building enterprise applications, right? So it's really,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really important. Especially if you're managing different applications, several applications. Um, yeah, just what you mentioned a while ago, right? So managing different package versions, it's also a problem for our teams as well at first, because when I was onboarded, they're not using NX and they're using different applications. It was really, yeah, it was really hard for me, difficult, because they're using different package versions. But right now we're using NX, and yeah, it's not my problem anymore. Also the dependencies, because it has NX graph and stuff. So I don't really care about the circular dependencies, because it's easier now to manage everything. So yeah. So have a look, guys, about NX or TurboRepo, or basically generally about Monorepo. It's really a nice technology, and they also have some tools about AI, and it's on their documentation as well. So there's a lot of things that you can learn about NX.
And just to share something, so I wrote a blog post like how AI is changing my development workflow. So you can read that maybe. I need to upgrade it because the things are so moving so fast now. But the development workflow looks a little bit different, but it's more about tooling now. I mean, I don't do it things by hand, which I was doing when I wrote this blog post. But almost like everything is same, just automated. And I ended up writing an Angular 22 blog as well. So if you want to learn about like what's changed, what is new in Angular 22, go ahead and read this blog just published last week. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, go ahead guys. Visit Santosh blogs. Highly recommended. So if you want to learn more stuff. And yeah, also I want to add NX also has its own MCP. So if you NX, I would say it's kind of overwhelming when you're starting because the documentation is really big. But if you want to learn it at a fast pace, like you want to experiment with it, yeah, you can also try their MCP because they have a lot of commands, they have a lot of toolings as well. Then you can access their tooling via MCP. So it's really nice. It's really cool. So I really love NX. I'm using it for years already as well. So yeah, really cool, guys. So yeah, thank you very much, Santosh. Personally I learned a lot as well. So it's really nice. But do you have any more things that you want to promote, like talks, upcoming talks, seminars, and events?
I mean, soon in here it will be like summer, so I'll be going for vacation. So I'm just waiting for that. But just let me connect my yeah. So I mean, just go ahead and give it a try to code wrap it in case you have a public repo. I'll really appreciate it if you can give me some feedbacks and maybe share it or if you have anything to share, just tag me on Twitter and yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm here on Twitter with Santosh Yadav Dev. It's all the same handle which I use everywhere. So
yeah, yeah. I will also give it a try. So it's
yeah,
really interesting for the code reviews, especially. Nice. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much again, Santosh, for being a speaker for this evening. And yes, thank you also very much, guys, for joining us. But if you have many more questions, so Santosh already dropped his Twitter account, X account, also his other stuff like the website. So yeah, please feel free to reach out to him if you have more questions outside this topic. All right. Yeah. Thank you again, guys, Angular Philippines, and yes, have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you very much.
thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.